When I first started with digital marketing, I wanted all the clients that I could get like right now. Give them to me. And it never works like that, except this one time that it did. The outreach method that I used, and it was taught to me by my mentor, was nothing short of extraordinary with the results. I had editors, sales managers, product supervisors, all wanting their promised goods and services and wanting it now. I was overwhelmed, understaffed, because it was just me and only me. I needed a way to, like clone myself to keep up with all the demands. Well, in this episode of the Copy Shop podcast, we're going to dive deep in and discover how you can not only work with multiple clients all at the same time, but how to keep both of you happy and making money. However, before we get too carried away with all of this success, I mentioned how I had to, basically clone myself just to keep up with all these demands. And how working with my mentor taught me this one very important skill set. You see, when I was just getting started, and no, we didn't use stone tablets either, even though it has been a long time ago, we didn't have AI or advanced computer skills. We had to rely on our talent, all right, on our creative genius, so to speak. Our writing skills were, our business foundation. And depending on how good that was, determine how much you could make. There were so many areas involved, and to learn, I had no idea which way to go or even how to get there. I was both a success and a liability to my clients if I didn't produce results, but not just any results. I had to produce the results, the content that was promised to all of these clients. I had to do it now, all from scratch, starting new each and every single time I had to provide some type of content. Needless to say, I was stretched very thin with my resources and looking for my clone to arrive to save the day. This is where my training kicked in. The secrets taught to me by my mentor, the same as with my martial arts studies. I was working from learned and engraved muscle memory skills, the type of superhuman attributes that only come from extensive one-on-one paid training. But before we get to the big reveal on how to work with multiple clients at the same time, we have to understand how this happens. And getting back to how working with a mentor saved the day. You see, right now, you are focused on and struggling with just to work with a client, any client, big or small, anything to help move that success needle further. But you don't know what you're doing. And it seems like we've heard that before, right? And for the most part, it's true. Now, how are we going to fix that? We're going to show you how to look for those special clients. Not only meet or exceed your pre-qualifications, but allow you to have to offer more, okay? Based on the deep research you have done. You see, not every client that meets your pre-quals will be a successful outreach. You will have to be very committed with your own developed system in order to attain these professional results. That's something we go over in detail with the Professional Outreach and Strategic Follow-Up program. Finding the same clients with the same needs as each other is the key strategic point here. This is how we can offer so much more to all of them, based on what we know and can produce. I was taught to turn to skills, the research, the processes, the decision-making from paid training into a repeatable system, okay? I wasn't just learning skills. I was building a process I could use again and again. That completely changes everything. Because if you're trying to learn digital marketing, copywriting, or how to get copywriting clients, there's something you need to understand. You don't scale by simply working harder. You scale by making your expertise repeatable, putting everything into your very own system. Now let's go back to how to work with multiple clients at the same time. This is where research comes into play and how you can effectively clone your way to success. There's that clone thing again. Notice I said repeatable systems. That is what is needed to make this work and continue to work for you each and every single time. I found out through extensive training that to build a system that works for you, you have to understand the how and why any type of system works in the first place. Let's just call this system the digital clone method. Here's the simplest way I can explain it. Your digital clone is not another person, and it's not some AI bot either. It's your best processes, documented and repeatable. Think about what happens when you become good at something. Eventually, you stop consciously thinking about every single step along the way. Same with martial arts or any other sport. Muscle memory takes over without you even thinking about it. The first thing you need to clone is your research process. Okay? Before you approach any prospect, you need to know what they're talking about. Who are you talking to? Not just their company name. I'm talking about their market, their customers, their products, their problems, and their competitors. However, most importantly is where you can help them. This is one of the reasons professional outreach is so different from simply sending out hundreds of cold emails. You aren't throwing messages against a wall hoping something sticks. You're researching, you're qualifying, you're looking for a reason to start the conversation. That's exactly the type of thinking we teach inside the Copy Shop Professional Outreach Program. The objective isn't simply send more emails. The objective is to find better prospects, to understand those messages, and to approach them professionally. Okay, so you got the prospect pre-qualified. Great. Now you found out everything required. You identified an issue. You found a solution. Now what do? You simply repeat this again and again for a handful of others. This should take no time at all because you've already done it before. So now you can start building that repeatable system we mentioned earlier. And this is just a start because now you have to clone your outreach, which is your very own method to use. This will provide a much more favorable outlook and more positive response rates to your messages, as described as in some of the other training videos on this channel. Once you start your very own professional outreach system, which you will learn how to build, of course, inside the professional program there, you will start to get responses. And these responses lead to conversations, which lead to working with some of these clients. But here comes the fun part. Now that your research has revealed exactly who belongs on your outreach list, you can then start to create content that can be repurposed to work with those other clients that will soon be coming your way. This repeatable system is not easy. It's not super fast. It will take time and dedication. However, you don't have to do this hard stuff all the time. You're using this type of self-constructed system, okay? Only a couple of times throughout your entire career. I mean, decades worth. Well, for at least for me, it's been that long. That's how effective a dedicated system can be, where you become not only employed for longer periods of time, you start to develop that niche mastery we talked about, which is the overall goal. And depending on how your system and what your system is the key. Now, this brings me back to mentorship, because I didn't wake up one morning and magically know how to build these systems. I had to learn them. I had to build them. I had to practice, make mistakes. And I had somebody there to correct those mistakes. And I built on what worked. That's the difference between simply consuming free content and investing in professional development. Free YouTube videos can give you ideas and directions. A paid mentorship program can potentially give you something much more valuable, a process for turning those ideas into skills. That's one of the reasons we created the Copy Shop. The Copy Shop isn't designed to, overwhelm you with another 1,000 hours of theory and no direct content. It's designed around direct, practical instruction for people who want to develop real-world digital marketing and copywriting skills. Now, if you're specifically struggling with finding clients, the professional outreach program is where we focus heavily on prospecting, on the research, the pre-qualification, outreach messages, and follow-ups. Because learning how to write just isn't enough. You need to know how to get your content in front of the right people. If you found this information helpful, leave a like, smash that subscription button, but don't stop here. Watch this video next for what's changed, and we'll see you on the next one.